Alright, so in this page and in the upcoming page as well, you can see there are the causes of the downfall of the Mauryan Empire. Okay, now the line reads, "It is urged by them that Ashok's patronage to Buddhism and deliberate humiliation of the Brahmanas led to a reaction promoted by the latter, and they clearly see the hands of the Brahmanas in the Great Revolution headed by Pushyamitra." Okay, so this narrative has been crafted by our so-called historians that Ashoka himself was very tolerant and he was very secular, and it was the Brahmins. A Brahmin king goes by the name of Pushyamitra. He was the commander-in-chief of the Maurya army. Okay, so this very fact that he was a Brahman and he was the commander-in-chief of an army, this itself raises so many questions. Okay, instead of answering it. So, and the reason why, we'll definitely get to those questions, and the reason why we are talking about this is the liberal scholarship will have you believe that the Varna system was oppressive, and the upper Varna, that is the Brahmanas, they were the one who were the perpetrators of injustice and all the bad things towards all the lower Varnas. Okay, now obviously there is some substance in that argument. Yes, there were competitions among the Varnas themselves to occupy a superior position. Okay, but to take an exception as a rule is a mistake that a lot of people make in our contemporary Bharat. Okay, so let's focus on the decline of the Maurya Empire. Okay, so supposedly Ashok, after witnessing such a large-scale violence after the Kalinga War, he had given up this idea of violence as a means of expanding his empire. Okay, so what he did, all he was doing now was he had transformed himself into a monk, which in itself is a very questionable thing. How was he able to discharge the functions of a king at the same time, being a monk? That is a separate discussion to be had, but we are not going to do that in this video. In this video, we are going to talk about so only after witnessing that bloodshed, he converted to Buddhism. Okay. Now, after being converted, I don't really see how was it necessary? Didn't the Aryan faith or the Aryan principles have sufficient intellectual depth to allow for non-violence to be adopted as a policy? Why did he have to convert to Buddhism? Simply because he wanted to usher in the era of non-violence? He could have simply done that based on the principles of the Aryans. Okay. Secondly, because there is an argument to be had. Was that the only reason why he converted to Buddhism, and only after conversion to Buddhism did he come up with this idea of non-violence? That is a discussion to be had. Okay, but let's assume for the sake of argument that he was inspired so much by the Buddhist ideals that he converted. Okay. Now, one of the major factors that our schools led us, not schools because we were too young at that time, the later public discourse, the political discourse will have us believe that the Brahmanas, they were very insecure. They got very insecure. Why? Because the seat of Magad was now very close to Buddhism, since Ashok was the emperor of the Mauryan Empire and the seat of the Mauryan Empire was Magad, and he had adopted the faith of Buddhism. That that got the Brahmanas jealousy. Okay, that invited the Brahmanas jealousy, and they instigated a revolution and to replace the last Mauryan king, that was Brihadrat, Pushyamitra Sunga. He was a Brahman and he killed Brihadrat, the last emperor of the Mauryans. Okay. Now, does this require a nuanced look? Are we simply supposed to believe at the face value that just because he was a Brahmana and just because Magadhan seat had a Buddhist king now, or the state religion of Magad was now Buddhism, hence the mere fact that he was a Brahmana made himself do what he did? Okay, because we don't look at the Islamic rulers with such direct conclusions. We look at them with a lot of empathy. Okay, but when it comes to our kings, we are very quick at jumping to conclusions. Okay, Here on this page, RC Majumdar, he says it is true that Pushyamitra, who led the revolution, was himself a Brahmana, but we must remember he was also the commander-in-chief of the Maurya army. Okay. Ashoka gave up the aggressive militarism of his forefathers and disbanded his army. Okay, Ashoka even gave up the thought of military, which was absurd in my opinion, but yeah, let's leave it at that.